Hi everybody, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Gabby. If you've never been here before, never watched any of my videos, have no idea what I do here on my channel, I cover true crime cases, and all the cases that I cover are a little bit older. They're all basically 20 years or older. So if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe go down below, click that subscribe button, and also make sure to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. So today we're going to be going over a case out of Canada, and it's definitely been a while since I've covered a Canadian case. This video is in collaboration with somebody that I've worked with a couple times before, and that is Michelle Short, who does true crime write-ups for The Crime Wire. She does some exceptional work. I just adore her style, and she puts a lot of heart into what she does. I was going through some of her recent write-ups, and I saw that she covered the case that we're going over today, and it was one that I knew that I wanted to cover here on my channel because it definitely needs to be talked about more. This family has gone through so much. It has been over 4 decades and they have no answers. And if you've never gone through something like that, you can only imagine the heartache. Today, we cover a case that, as global British Columbia crime reporter John L. Daly said, grabbed at everybody's heartstrings. This is the unsolved disappearance of Jo-Anne Pedersen. Jo-Anne Maria Pedersen, or JoJo as loved ones called her, was born on May 17th of 1972 to parents Leo and Angela. She was the youngest child of 3 daughters. She is often described by friends and family as being a kind and shy child who always loved helping others. Her parents did get a divorce in 1978, and after the divorce, her mother was granted full custody of her 3 daughters. We do not know the entire situation. It's a private matter, and we have to respect that, but Angela's petition to deny their father any visitation rights was approved by the court. So, Jo-Anne and her 2 sisters, Louise and Annalise, lived full-time with their mother in their hometown of Chilliwack. Louise was about a year older than Jo-Anne, and Annalise was about 6 years older. Chilliwack is a city of about 100,000 located in British Columbia, Canada. It is located about 100 kilometers or 62 miles east of the city of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley. Jo-Anne's family did move around quite frequently, so much so that she had switched schools a total of 6 times in the 5 years she had been in school. In early 1983, Jo-Anne was 10 years old, a 5th grader attending Watson Elementary School in Sardis. She was living with her mother and 2 sisters in a townhouse complex in the neighborhood of Vedder Crossing in Chilliwack. Although Jo-Anne had to be the new girl more than she probably would have liked to, she made friends easily. Her teacher, Stuart Grafton, was quoted saying, "She got along pretty well with all the kids. She seemed to like it here and had very little difficulty fitting in." One thing I have to note is that Jo-Anne did miss school often due to her not feeling well, but the cause for this, the specifics behind her health issues, remain uncertain. I'm not sure if she had a long-term illness or these were separate illnesses, but she frequently felt too unwell to attend school. Now let's get into the day of her disappearance. On February 19th of 1983, Jo-Anne was walking home with her older sister, Louise, and their cousin. I'm not sure where Annalise was at this time, but she was a teenager, so she was probably off doing her own thing. Jo-Anne had gotten into an argument with her sister Louise, and the cause of this dispute is unknown, but as a result, Louise and their cousin ran ahead of Jo-Anne to get home before her. Jo-Anne arrived at the home, the door was locked. This was most likely the result of Louise and their cousin playing a prank on Jo-Anne. She knocked on the door to be let in, but it didn't seem like the 2 were going to open the door for her. Jo-Anne found herself in a predicament as her mother was not present to come to her aid and open the door for her. This was due to Angela and their stepfather's absence as they were attending a birthday party at the Chilliwack Legion. At this point, it was nearly 8 at night. It was getting pretty dark and it was also raining. Jo-Anne didn't want to stand out in the cold and the rain in the hopes that someone inside the home would finally let her in. So she decided to walk up to the local convenience store called Penny Pinchers and call her mother from the phone there. Penny Pinchers is no longer there today, but it was located at the corner of Watson Road and Vedder Road. Jo-Anne walked inside the store, asked the clerks behind the counter if she could use the phone inside. Newspaper articles claim that the clerks were busy checking people out and kind of ignored her begging to use the phone, so Jo-Anne headed outside to use the phone in the phone booth. At approximately 8:20 p.m., Jo-Anne got an operator to connect her to get a hold of her mother. While on the phone with her mother, she asked her mother to please come pick her up. Then all of a sudden, a male voice interjects and says, "You'd better get her within half an hour or I'm phoning the police." Angela and their stepfather make their way to Penny Pinchers as fast as they can. Witnesses did see Joanne inside the phone booth with a man at that time, and the man was described as being 20 to 23 years old, standing a little over 6 feet tall, having a slim build, a mustache, messy wavy hair, and wearing an 80s style dark leather jacket. This man is believed to be the one who spoke into the phone when Joanne was speaking to her mother. This man told her mother to be there within a half an hour, but when Angela arrived at Penny Pinchers in about 15 to 20 minutes, Joanne was nowhere to be found. Joanne wasn't there, and neither was this man. Angela went inside and asked the clerks if her daughter was somewhere inside of the store, and they told her no. She asked them if they saw her leave with anybody, and they also said no, but they said that they spoke to her daughter before she went out to use the phone, and they did see her in the phone booth with a man. Angela searched around the convenience store, and she could not find Joanne anywhere. After the search came up fruitless, she decided to report her daughter missing. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, took over the case from there, and they would conduct an all-encompassing search for the missing 10-year-old girl. This search included law enforcement, volunteers, and cadaver dogs. A spokesman for the RCMP said, "We have searched everywhere possible on foot with dogs, aircraft, even had kayaks on the river, without success." Although there were no clues as to where Joanne was, there were also no clues that any foul play had taken place. No one had heard any screaming, and there were no drag marks on the ground anywhere outside the convenience store. No blood anywhere or hair left behind that had possibly been grabbed and yanked out during a struggle. Joanne's family, due to this, truly hoped for the best. They prayed that she was still out there somewhere and that they would locate her soon. There had been a few witnesses that had seen Joanne inside the phone booth with this unknown man, but no one knew who the man was, and no one had claimed to see the girl leave with this man or anyone else. It is still so confusing to people who look into this case how this man handled this situation. A lot of people agree this man should have spoken to her mother on the phone in a more mature manner, taken Joanne inside the store out of the rain and the cold, and waited with her along with the clerk until Angela and her stepfather arrived to take Joanne home safely. This is what a responsible adult would have done. This is not what this man did, and this man's identity was not discovered for many years to come. The search for Jo-Anne Pedersen and any more information regarding this man continued, but it seemed like no one else had anything else to add about that night that she went missing. This case is not as talked about as a lot of other cases, but it tremendously impacted not only people who knew and loved Joanne, but also the area of Chilliwack itself. As Joanne's friend Tracy said, "Our mothers are really picking on us now. We're supposed to walk home with other kids and come straight home when it starts to get dark." Joanne's friend Cindy said, "It's shocking to know your best friend is missing and you can't do anything about it except help to look." No one believed for even a second that Joanne had run away though. This was an abduction case, plain and simple. Joanne's sister Annalise said that her sister was someone who was very fragile and depended on others. She would have never ran away from home. The person who took her at that point may have still had her out there somewhere and was holding her captive. That's what they hoped was going on, that she was still alive above anything else. Authorities had waited for someone to reach out wanting a payment for her return, maybe a ransom letter would show up or a ransom call would be made, but that never happened. Sergeant Ayres pleaded to the public, "We're also asking the public to search their barns, garages, and backyards. We're covering all bases because it's such a great area and we really don't know where to search other than where she was last seen." On March 1st, after 11 days of no results, they stopped the search. 4 days later, on March 5th, something extremely concerning happened. 15 days after Joanne vanished from outside Penny Pinchers, her grandmother Mary received a phone call that she would remember for the rest of her life. Her phone rang, and when she answered it, a man's voice said, "Listen to this." Then she could hear a child crying. She was certain this child was her granddaughter, Joanne. As Sergeant Ayres said soon after, "There is no doubt in my mind that it was the child. I'm convinced she's alive." If they had been able to trace this phone call, they may have been able to solve this case then and there, but unfortunately, they were unable to. They did not know where the call came from. It could have been locally, it could have been farther away, and they did not know who the man was on the phone. It could have been the man who was last seen with Joanne that night. They couldn't say for certain though. We have seen many cases where prank calls were made to the family of someone who went missing or someone who had been tragically murdered. But the thing that made authorities believe that the child on the other end was Joanne was the fact that Joanne's grandmother did not have her phone number listed in the phone book. Whoever had called had to have known Mary's number and was probably given it personally. It was somebody who most likely had it memorized. This was a time when memorizing numbers was far more common, and Joanne did have her grandmother's number memorized. They did and still do believe that the little girl crying on the phone was Jo-Anne Pedersen. There was nothing they could really do about it though, and this was what was so devastating to everyone. It's like they had the key to finding her, but they couldn't find any lock that the key went to. They hoped that another phone call would come in and that maybe they would be able to track this one, but another call never came in. At this time, there was a $1,000 reward for Joanne's safe return. There was a phone line that was set up for anonymous callers, and there was also a PO box set up for anonymous letters. Tips came in on the regular regarding this case, but none of them seemed to get them anywhere closer to finding out what happened to Joanne or where she may have been. There was one incident that definitely caught the RCMP's attention, and that was when only 5 days after Joanne went missing, another little girl in the area had almost been abducted. A 12-year-old Chilliwack girl was searching around on the ground for a pen that she had lost when a man came up behind her in his late 20s and tried to snatch her. She managed to break away from this man and escape unharmed, but this man was never located. They did originally think that this incident and Joanne's disappearance could have been connected, but Sergeant Ayers would later say that he did not believe that the two were related in any way. How law enforcement came to this conclusion, though, is unknown to the public. This was an area not too familiar with child abductions, but we had Joanne, and then we had a few days later another little girl who was almost abducted, and then a few months after that there was another case of a little girl going missing. About 5 months after Joanne's disappearance, an 8-year-old girl named Terry Lynn Scalf went outside her townhouse in Aldergrove to play with some friends, and she was never seen again. This is an area that is about a 30-minute drive southeast of Chilliwack. There have been a few suspects in Terry's case and even a man that confessed to killing her, but her case is still unsolved today, and they still have no idea where she is. At the end of the day, authorities did come to the conclusion that Joanne's disappearance and Terry's disappearance were not connected in any way, but I do feel the need to highlight Terry's disappearance because to say that parents were terrified in this area of Canada at this time would be an understatement. Parents were watching their children far more than they were before. Children were walking to school alone a lot less. They were inside before dark, and doors were made sure to be locked before everyone headed to bed at night. On October 29th of 1983, Joanne's biological father made his own plea to the public. He begged the person who took Joanne to please let her go. He told the Vancouver Sun that the last time he saw his daughter was June 1st of 1980, and he spent years trying to track them down, but was told that Angela and the girls would move away every few months. He said that after Joanne went missing that he drove to Chilliwack from Grand Forks and tried to help in the search, but the girl's mother told him that the court order forbid him from being around them, so he had to go back home. He said, well, it's kind of difficult to think she'd still be alive, but I would still want to ask them to let her go to her father. Joanne's family waited every day for any updates in this case, and her friends at school attended class Monday through Friday, knowing that there was going to be an empty desk. The next notable update in this case would not be until the year of 2008. For the 25th anniversary of the case, Chilliwack RCMP partnered with Crime Stoppers to release a reenactment video of the events before Joanne went missing. This video was posted on the Chilliwack RCMP YouTube channel on February 15th of that year. About the reenactment, crime reporter John L. Daly said, to see this little girl in a rainy phone booth, cars passing by, apparently talking to some guy in a black coat, it was just horrible. On the exact day of the 25th anniversary of her disappearance, February 19th of 2008, the RCMP released another video, this one featuring Joanne's mother.
She phoned and said, come and pick me up. And
Well, did a man come on the phone at one point?
Yes, that same man with her came on the phone and said, you better get here within half an hour or I'm phoning the police. and I was there between 15 and 20 minutes.
25 years later, Pedersen's mother made an emotional plea to the mystery man who RCMP had not identified.
As a mother, I'm pleading for you to come forward. Please do that for me.
At this time, there was also a composite sketch released to the public of what the man looked like that she was last seen with. On the screen is a photo of RCMP Constable Leanne Dunlop during a press conference releasing the sketch to the public. By April of that year, roughly 50 new tips came in and were all followed. Now, the RCMP received a letter this year with a tiny bit of information regarding the case and believed that the person who wrote the letter may have been the man who was in the phone booth with her that night. 3 years later, in 2011, another letter came in. A letter with different handwriting, which made them lean towards it not being written by the same individual as the 2008 letter. This 2011 letter featured some more information in it, and this information is believed to be some that only someone there that night could have known. Authorities wanted the people who wrote these letters to come forward and speak to them. Well, only days before the 40th anniversary of this case in 2023, the RCMP announced to the public that they have located the man who was there with her that night, that they are not going to release his name to the public, but they believe he was only there that night to help her and that he has been eliminated as a person of interest in her case. John L. Daly was quoted saying, "One can only wonder what they've told him and why it took so long to find him and why he didn't come forward earlier." He goes on to say, "Or have they discovered who he was, determined who he was, and he's dead? We don't know." Information regarding this man is limited, and I mean very limited, but apparently they have discovered who the man was who was there in that phone booth with her that night, and they do not believe that he is the one responsible for her disappearance. How they came to this conclusion, like so many other conclusions that they came to in this case, I'm not sure. Had this man left her there that night thinking she would be there when her mother and stepfather showed up, and after he left, someone else abducted her? Had he not come forward for so long because he was afraid of her disappearance being pinned on him, even though he wasn't the one responsible? What information did he give authorities where they were able to positively identify him as the man who was there in the phone booth with her that night? How did a few people see her with this man, yet no one saw who she left with or what direction she may have left in? There are so many unanswered questions with this case. The public has gotten glimpses of these letters, but what was written in whole in the letters is only known by the RCMP. From my understanding, the 2008 letter and 2011 letter were written by two separate people, and the 2008 letter is said to be written by the man she was last seen with and that they identified, and the writer of the 2011 letter is still, as of right now, unknown. This is just from what people looking into the case can piece together from recent articles covering the letters. The private identification of this man is really the last update that there has been in the case of Jo-Anne Pedersen, but her case is still considered an open and active one. Corporal Carmen Keener said in a public statement released last year, the investigation into Joanne's disappearance has never stopped and continues to be actively pursued. The Chilliwack RCMP Serious Crime Unit is seeking information from the public that can assist in solving this mystery. If you have any information relating to Joanne's disappearance, please contact the Chilliwack RCMP as we are still hopeful we can provide answers for Joanne's family. Jo-Anne Pedersen was abducted 41 years ago. If she were alive today, she would be 52 years old. Her family and friends have missed her dearly for over 4 decades. And if she is no longer with us on Earth, they just want, like so many other loved ones, to know what happened and to be able to give her a proper burial. This little girl had a vast expanse of possibilities that awaited her in life, but all of that was cruelly stolen away. And the identification of that person or people who took that away from her is still unknown. They may still be out there somewhere, and there may be people even around that area today who know what happened. Jo-Anne Pedersen was 10 years old when she went missing outside Penny Pincher's convenience store in Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada on February 19th of 1983. At the time, she was wearing a yellow t-shirt with the words "A Touch of Class" on it, a blue sweater, a pink sleeveless jacket, and tan capri pants. She had shoulder-length brunette hair and brown eyes. She had a 1 inch in size birthmark behind her right ear. She stood at 4 feet 6 inches tall, or 138 centimeters, and weighed roughly 85 pounds, or 38.6 kilograms. On the screen is a reconstruction photo of her done as to what she may have looked like at the age of 34. Anyone with information regarding the disappearance of Jo-Anne Pedersen is asked to call the Chilliwack RCMP at 604-792-4611. Tips can also be provided anonymously via Crime Stoppers at 800-222-8477. Thank you all for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about Joanne's case. I hope above all that her family can get some sort of closure eventually. Sometimes it just takes one person getting to the point where they can't live with a secret any longer and they come forward, and I hope that if there is somebody out there who knows what happened to this little girl and who knows who was responsible, that they decide that it is time to let this family have some peace. Make sure to leave some love down in the comments because you never know who may come across this video. And if there are any other cases that you possibly want me to cover here on my channel, make sure to send those over to gabylosiscaserequests@gmail.com. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe like always, and I hope to see you in the next one.